What's up? What's up? What's going on? Gotta make sure these platforms are right. I don't think this will work. The Twitter space just conked out on us. Yo, what's up, Kirsten? We got Kirsten in the house. What's up, Aaron? We got Aaron, Brandon. What's up? What's up? What's going on? Hope y'all doing well. Damn, y'all are quick. Y'all are quick. Y'all caught me within like the first minute. Shout out to y'all. Hey, that's what's up. That's love. That's love for real. Y'all must have those notifications on. Shout out to y'all. Hope y'all are doing well. Man, hope y'all are staying safe, growing in all capacities of your life. What's up? We got Sharon in the house. Hey, and we just started. We just started. What's up? What's up? Hey, glad to have you all. Hey, we got Crystal. Crystal's on the YouTube stream with us. Hey, hey, what's tonight's topic? I don't know. I'm just here for the ride. You tell me. Kirsten, what's tonight's topic? Day off. Sharon got a day off. Man, that's a topic. That's noteworthy for a discussion in itself. You gotta have rest and relaxation. So I write my goals and things that I'm thankful for, gratitude, like every single day. Every single day. What's up? We got Crystal on the Facebook as well. So like I start seeing recurring themes in in things that I'm thankful for when I do it every day, right? I'm trying to get this. Okay, I think the Twitter stream is live now too. So we're on Twitter Spaces as well. But I write things that I'm grateful for in addition to my goals every single day. It's the way I stay focused and the way I remember, it keeps me on track. It's like, what are we getting accomplished? What are we doing? Day after day, you know. So, amen. Amen. Proud to be an indigenous creature. What does that mean to you? Out of curiosity. We got to start off. You know. I'm curious. I'm curious to know what that means. Um, yeah. So I start seeing reoccurring themes and things that I'm grateful for, and one of those things are like rest, relaxation, meditation. But also at the same time work. Um, in various capacities. Uh, anything that's an asset can also be a liability, a detriment, but there are also spectrums as well. So everything in moderation, depending on what it is, right? Right. Where did we? Where did we leave off? Where did we leave off last time? I don't know. My apps have updated, so I don't know if just see things to come. And what do you mean by that? We got to clarify our our definitions. You're burdened by things to come. Curious to know what you mean by that. The future is always um, yields opportunity. At least that's my perspective. Every moment has opportunity in it. It's just a matter of how we perceive it, right? I'm not familiar with that reporter calling young stars from reservation dogs on Hulu. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm lost. I don't really follow like news that closely, like loosely. Somebody like close or in my vicinity like might tell me something. I might be in tune to it, but other than that, wow. No, so my apps have updated and everything. So I'm trying to figure out this IG live here right now. No, we're lit. We're lit on Facebook right now. This must be a good time for y'all. I know we came out a little later than usual. Y'all are lit on Facebook though. Let's see. I don't know if I could see everybody on Instagram. Oh, maybe there's just nobody on Instagram right now. That's cool too. That's cool too. So hey, looks like we're on Facebook. It won't show me the chat. It doesn't show me anything. It's unusual for me. I'm not used to seeing that. Hmm, hmm. No, that's interesting. That is interesting. Where we leave off? Oh no, no, we did not leave off. Speak for yourself, Sharon. We did not leave off talking about necros. No, we didn't. No, I don't know what you're referring to. Negative. No. What we were talking about, you guys talking about necros. That's what we were talking about. Now y'all are really into that, huh? I ain't shit. What should I expect? Making the music that we do and everything like that. Damn. Hey, if we really talking about necro right now, necrophilia and shit, I'm kind of gonna hijack this conversation, right? So I'm a big fan of the artist Necro. Do y'all know Necro, the rapper? He's dope. He makes death rap. Look into him. Let me know what y'all think about Necro, the rapper. Oh shit. Necro the rapper is dope. Check him out. Yeah. Crystal. No, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, Necro the rapper though. Check him out. Yeah, that's about as far as I can. Yeah, in that conversation. I don't really have much else to contribute to that conversation. Not gonna lie. I know Kung Fu Vampire. Haven't heard that song. I'm gonna have to check that song out. I am familiar with Kung Fu Vampire. Kung Fu Vampire is dope. Yeah, now I'll check that out. Mm-mm. I mean, I guess the only thing that I can relatively relate to, like, I don't even know if that's the way I want to even say that, but that reminds me of I don't know how familiar you are with the TV show. I don't think it still goes on, but it's called A Thousand Ways to Die. Have y'all seen A Thousand Ways to Die? Um, there was this one episode of on A Thousand Ways to Die where there's this. I guess he was a mortician, right? And I think he was transporting the bodies and having sex with one of the bodies as he was transporting them, like in the vehicle. I don't even know how you do that. First of all, what you like A Thousand Ways to Die? And so, I mean, I remember a couple of those episodes. They really, I don't know. For me, at least, they really stay in your mind. They're very prominent. I don't know. That's for me, at least. And but anyway, this necrophiliac, he was having sex with one of the bodies while he was driving or whatever, and of course he got in a car accident and died. I forget what they called it. They always got funny names for the ways they die and everything. But I don't know. That's just what that reminds me of. Wow, that's very interesting. All of you know that show. I don't think the show was too popular. Maybe I could be mistaken, but I feel like that's very interesting. All of us know 1,000 ways to die. That's really interesting. I think that speaks volumes to our core demographic and who we cater to. So yeah, what's up? What's up? We got Aaron on the YouTube too. Faces of Death movies. I'm not familiar with that. I've been catching up on some movies. Um, Faces of Death. Does that sound like Final Destination? I haven't seen any of the Final Destination. Necro Mortis. That makes sense. I wonder if that's what it was called. If you remember that episode, that's very interesting. I don't know what Faces of. Is it kind of the same thing? Faces of Death. Is it like Final Destination? Which one is better there? Descendants. No, no, no. We want you to ascend here. Harrison's gonna break off and start a anti group. uh, I remember a couple of those episodes. Yeah, I remember a few of those episodes. There was one where like a meteor shot through the guy's heart, and it went through. He was at like a pool party. That was kind of crazy. 'Cause, I mean, that shit was totally random. That could happen to like anybody, right? Shit, anybody could get it. Again, going back to gratitude, right? It just makes you appreciate life more. Um, What do you mean by way worse? Way worse in like quality or, huh? Um, what was it? There were some other episodes. I remember there was an episode. Somebody had like a mental disability or something like that, and they were like putting things in their ass, like uh, like a thermometer, or and carrots, and then I think the carrots like pierced their blood vessels on the inside, and like they had internal bleeding. This is probably two separate episodes. Actually, come to think of it, a lot of these have to do with sex. I'm starting to realize now, because I remember the thermometer one. The mercury went into their bloodstream. They died like two ways. They died from like loss of blood and the mercury entering their bloodstream. That's kind of crazy. And there was another one where this couple went to have sex in a tent. This is probably the funniest one, low key. Probably should be laughing. It's terrible, but I don't know. It's stupid at the same time, right? So they went to go fuck in a tent, right? And the wind blew the tent away. Yeah, that's fucking terrible, right? Could you imagine? Dog, that's wild. Damn, that sucks to be just carried away in the fucking tent. I don't know what to say about that, man. And then like to not die instantly. That's the crazy part, right? Like you blowing around this tent and you getting beat up and shit, man. I don't know. I'm on the other side. If that shit happened to me and I died, I'm probably looking back and laughing at my damn self. That's kind of crazy. Mm-mm. The most beautiful one I think I remember. It was these two virgins. This is back in like they say what like the 1400s or some. It was a long time ago, right? And they were having sex together for the first time ever, and they died simultaneously. I guess their hearts exploded. I don't know. That sounds like some bullshit to me. That's I don't know. When I start hearing like fairy tale endings and shit, that's when I start questioning. I don't know. I just see, and maybe that has to do with my perspective on life. I wouldn't call myself a cynic, but the ideal circumstances and fairy tale endings, that's just so less likely to happen. Like we live in a world of chaos, right? I'm not the fucking Joker, right? Off the Dark Knight with Batman and everything, but just being, a realist, a mathematician, and looking at numbers, right? There's so much more likely for, right? I don't know. I don't know. I think they were supposed to be in love with each other or something like that, which is an abstract concept. I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to that idea of love. I believe in trust, respect, and empathy. And if you embody those three characteristics, for me, that I consider that love. Now anything beyond that, we're going to talk about some supernatural shit. I don't really subscribe to that idea, belief, or theory. But I welcome it. I would challenge it just like I do with anything with a critical eye. And I'm curious to know other people's perspectives. I'm not closed minded about it. You know, I feel like, too, when you're secure in your own self and in your pursuits of engaging the truth, right? You should be welcome to other varying ideas and perspectives. Because what's the end goal? Are you just trying to prove yourself right? Or are you seeking for truth? And I consider myself a truth seeker. So if anybody has any ideas, philosophies, perspectives that, contest mine, I open with open ears, mind, and heart. So yeah, right? Exactly. Summer. You just, I mean, right? Sum up everything that I said, you know. Yeah, I don't know if you just like lurking on the stream, but you interjected at the perfect timing, right? And I guess that's kind of why I make the music that I do. I just don't believe in fairy tale endings, and whenever I watch the movies, I'll be like, man, this could have ended. Let's say the ending that it had, there was a 10% chance of that happening. But it always shows that, and that's high. I consider that high. A 10% chance of a fairy tale ending, that's a high percentage. You know, I consider all of us realists here, and we seek the truth. You know, so for but to show that 10% fairy tale ending every single time in every single movie, that's when I'm like, okay, now y'all are just bullshitting me, right? Y'all are just giving me this recycled fairy tale ending, because I guess it warms people's hearts. It makes so I listen to like a lot of I listen to this one podcast. I'm gonna share like this is probably my favorite podcast. What's up, Jay? What's up, Jay? This is probably my favorite podcast right now. It's called Hidden Brain, right? And I'm like, I don't know how many episodes deep I'm in. I'm probably at least 100 by now, right? They talk about. I'll probably bring the podcast up so many times, but check it out. Then we can have some real conversations about psychology, right? But they talk about, especially here in America, how we're presented ideal circumstances and fairy tale endings and shit. Like everything's just gonna be all right, you know, and how that actually creates depression in our lives, because you think about it, it almost creates this instant gratification thing. Like, oh, if you think wishfully and you do positive thinking and your affirmations and you cross your fingers and hope and pray everything will be all right. And you see all of these movies where everything has a fairy tale ending, and that's all the only content, that's the only type of content that you're indulging yourselves in, right? Then you're not exposing yourselves to any alternatives, which is very important in being grounded in reality, right? Because you could be so detached, so aloof, and strayed so far from the truth, you don't know what's up from down, you know? Like, so you won't actually be prepared and equipped to handle the realities and struggles of day to day life, you know? Because you think everything is just gonna, imagine, and you could do this for like any, almost literally any uh, circumstance or situation, right? And I'm seeing y'all's comments. I don't want y'all to think I'm ignoring y'all or anything, but I just want to finish this point. I feel like it's very important that I finish this point here. Not ignoring y'all. I'm going to go back here and check them out because I do feel like y'all are saying important things that are contributing to the conversation as well. But this is what we're talking about tonight, I guess, right? So you could apply this to anything. This wishful thinking, fairy tale ending shit. It doesn't really apply to the real world. The real world, we have constraints and issues and obstacles and things that nobody wants to deal with, And if you just bury all of your problems, this is why I make dark music and shit, and I bring all of that to the forefront, because I want to deal with the problems. I want to confront the boogeyman, right? I don't want to suppress shit, and live in this bullshit. Now, if life is great, and I do make nice music and shit sometimes too, I make happy music, you know, when I feel like that. But I feel also there is always another obstacle, something to overcome, even if not for myself, maybe something somebody else is dealing with. And that's why, again, I go and uh, seek out, new perspectives and ideas and different people and all of that, so forth and so on. I'm going to read your comment here, Summer, in a second. I'm still trying to. Oh, and Sharon, still hang on with me, bear with me, y'all, to finish this point. So you could go into something blindfolded with no preparation, total lack of preparation, and you'll bust, bust out. Like you, it'll be a detriment for you to attempt whatever your end goal is, because you just think everything's going to work out fine, and you're not going to have a problem or a care in the world, and that's called being detached from reality. You're living in illusion. You know, and like what can you're, for lack of a better word or term, like that's crazy. That's that's a mental issue. You know, um, nobody can deal with you in the basis of reality at that point. You know, you try to go and get a job, but you don't meet any of the requirements, qualifications. You know, you don't even know what the job is, but you think you're go and get a job. Say my goal is to lift 300 pounds, right? And I haven't lifted a single, I haven't even looked at a weight, but wishful thinking, is that going to get me there? You know, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. Oh, I want to make so much money, but you're not like focused. You haven't put any type of effort or energy into it. You think like wishful thinking and there's a saying in the Bible, just to back up, what this point, faith without works is dead, right? So you actually have to go through and commit to what you're doing, through your actions. It's not just through words and hoping and praying and shit, you know, but your actions will manifest, your belief. So that's pretty much what I had to say about that. And like I said, it's applicable to any endeavor. So food for thought. I'm gonna go ahead and dig into y'all's comments here. Curious what y'all are saying. What's up? What's up? I got to scroll a little bit back here. All right. No, I don't know who H. Holmes was. Banned from America shows a thief getting his hand chopped off for stealing. I heard they used to do that. I'm not opposed to that, actually. Uh, controversial opinion, but I feel like that only works in, again, an ideal circumstance or situation where it's like stealing isn't even a thing. If we don't have like a wealth gap, if there was no need to steal, then yeah, I could condone that. But until we come to the day where there's no need for theft, and everybody's eating, don't chop anybody's hand off. you know, until that day, not for stealing at least. And as long as it's like food or some shit. But anyways, American Horror Story. My cousin was in American Horror Story. I haven't seen any of the American Horror Stories. That's another topic I could talk about. Like, tell me what movies to watch. I'm probably not going to check like everything, but I am starting a movie list, and in my free time, I am watching movies. Uh, oh yeah. Sharon statement: male and female brains are so different. Of course, for sure. But I'm curious to know what in our conversation made you say that though. I'm just curious. And how? What makes you say that, basically? Um I Robot may become more than just a movie. You think AI is gonna take over? I don't know. I've seen fairly reasonable arguments on both sides of the equation, so I'm curious to know your take on that. Uh Oblivious. One time. No idea. Yeah. Again, okay, Sharon, I'm reading your question. Oblivious to a guy that had feelings for you. All he had to do was speak out. I'm curious to know what prompted that observation. Maybe that has to do with, yeah, that probably does have to do with somebody somebody's wishful thinking, right? Thinking everything is going to work out, you know, and all he had to do was like approach you, right? Or maybe not all he had to, but I mean, it would have gotten him further than just being in his feelings, right? Okay. Summer, life is like a facade. Yeah. Right. So I don't think the problem here is that there are obstacles in life. I don't think that's the problem. Just for the record, right? I mean, I feel like we can all agree that life without obstacles and problems would be lame, right? That's boring, you know. I think we talked about this before, but it's like we need a certain level of excitement and stability in our lives to continue, you know, as beings that we are, you know. Um, but it's having the awareness of those obstacles and who we are and who we can become to conquer them and overcome them, right? It reminds me of a Bruce Lee quote. He says, "Don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a hard one." You know, and I feel like that's very relevant. And I agree. I agree with that. Bruce Lee, be like water, my friends. Fantasy realm, incapable of living in reality. Well, I disagree with that. I mean, just the fact that you're here right now, our realities are merging. Uh, realities. So, uh, what is insanity? What is crazy? Maybe we've had this discussion before too, maybe not, but like everybody's on a spectrum, right? There's no such thing as normal. Why does somebody have to be to blame? Why can't somebody just be responsible and take responsibility, assume responsibility? Why don't we just do that? So like, there's no point in dwelling in the past. It's like, but what can we do about the future? Okay, that's fair. Sharon's point. Uh, Gotten a job with no experience. That's fair. That it was your confidence. But was it blind confidence though? Like you knew the job that you were applying for. Maybe the job itself didn't require experience, and you knew that, right? Um, and to an extent, come on now, like everybody has some kind of experience, some kind of experience. I mean, I'm assuming there was an interview process and no nepotism involved, right? Just the fact that you have communication skills, that's experience. I consider that experience. And maybe you've worked, I mean, unless it was your first job, you've had another job before. We know that you're reliable, reliable, and what's the word I'm looking for? Dependable, not dependent, dependable. You know, so I mean, I consider these things experience, right? And the fact that you had it for 2 years. You know, it's not like you're totally aloof and detached from reality. Like some people think they're just gonna get paid for not doing anything. And you've worked before, regardless of whether it was in a professional setting or not. So I mean, I consider all these things experience, right? That's interesting. If it wasn't for insanity, there would be no sanity. As with all things, right? Oh, Jack the Ripper. I've heard. I'm not like that familiar. 7 pounds. I've heard of that. I didn't know. Since we're bringing back up Will Smith, I heard of 7 pounds. I need to add that to my list. It reminds me. I think we talked about seven before. 7 pounds. 7 pounds. I have to add that to my list for sure. Is anybody going to watch the new Will Smith movie, Emancipation? I think I heard him talking about. You wouldn't be surprised if no one saw it or something like that. How do y'all feel about Will Smith? 7 pounds. Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna add that to like up close to the top of the list. Last thing I had in my queue was The Great Gatsby because I just saw, and I don't know what to expect. I don't think I heard anything from The Great Gatsby, whether it's positive or negative. I was supposed to read the book in high school and I just didn't. Uh, the last movie I saw was American Gangster. I finally just saw it, like I think it was Thanksgiving. 7 pounds though. I have to add that to the list. Yeah, Becca. Becca knows about Necro. Necro is dope. The rapper, right? To clarify, the rapper, Necro. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Heavily inspired by Necro. I love Necro. Shit, yeah, right? Everybody's biggest obstacle is their own selves. I agree with that. Because what else is there? What else is there? Issues internally. Be the water. Be the water, my friends. If you could be more specific with your question, Summer, you said, "What are my options? Options." I thought you said opinions, or maybe you meant to say opinions. I don't know your question. I don't understand your question. Options on mental health issues. Curious to know what you mean by that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what'd you say? What'd you say, Kirsten? Oh no, it won't let me scroll. Oh, y'all's comments are coming in so fast, it won't let me scroll up anymore. Okay. I was trying to revisit your comment. Um, Different forms of crazy, right? Has different spectrums. See, did you? Oh, you didn't have a bachelor. Okay, okay. Some type of experience though. What's up, Justin? It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I don't. I know people have been telling me my volume is down. I don't know how to turn it up. That's the problem. Hopefully, I just turn up loud. I mean, enough of y'all can hear me. I feel, and if not, I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter as well. So if you need to supplement that volume, I'm on a couple of different platforms. Maybe it's just my laptop. Maybe it's just my computer that has volume issues. The other platforms, I have two other phones up right now, so maybe I'm easier to hear. Yeah, 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 yeah. Denzel, Will Smith, Smile. I haven't heard of Smile. I'm not familiar. What's that about, or who's in it? I have to look that up. But 7 pounds is definitely getting added to my list. Uh, Cooper. Huh. Uh, what? That's a big question, though. My opinion on mental health issues. It's a lot. A big opinion. I got a lot of opinions. Everybody got big opinions. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, I hope you're doing well too, Justin. Man, it's good to have all of you here. Feel loved. Hope you all feel loved as well. But not the happy ending kind of love. We don't do happy endings here. Right? We don't do fairy tale endings here. You know. Nah, I'm just fucking with y'all. Uh, I'm mumbling. Who's mumbling? Y'all's comments are coming in a little fast for me. Trying to keep up here. Um, Everybody's on the same platform though. That's good. Or I don't know if it's maybe my Instagram, my Twitter, or my YouTube just fucked up. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Geechee movie. I'm not familiar with that. Red Crayon. Y'all speaking another language. Right, right, right. Oh, I've never done that before. Favorite actor or actress? That's a big question. Like Johnny Depp. You know, one bad rap that I hear. Constructive. I don't know if it's constructive, but maybe like a criticism against him. I've heard, which I can understand, is that he does like a whole bunch of weird movies just out of the ordinary and shit. It's like where does he actually play like a regular person? You know, and I could get that. I understand that criticism. What's up, Sean? What's up? What's up? I understand that, but at the same time, I saw Blow like relatively recently, maybe within like the past 2 years, the movie Blow, where Johnny Depp was like I mean, I guess, multi-million dollar drug dealer is probably like the least eccentric role that he's played, and I was like, he killed it on that one too. So what else y'all got? What else y'all gonna say about him? From the Pirates of the Caribbean to Charlie, I forget if it's Charlie in the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. Uh, yeah, yeah, Johnny Depp is up there. Y'all heard about the Amber Heard thing? What's y'all's opinion on that? I have a list of favorite movies. I don't have like favorite actors or actresses. Not really. Just I guess ones that come to mind. I like Clint Eastwood. I've heard Clint Eastwood. And I like Denzel Washington. I've heard that they had similar criticisms about them as well, where they get typecasted. I get that. I get because I mean they're pretty much themselves as far as we know them in their own in each of their movies, right? Now Will Smith, yeah, he's probably up. Yeah, he's up there. whether the role itself is eccentric or not. Will Smith is definitely up there. Okay, okay. Y'all give me some good ones. Reservation Dogs. I've heard about that. I'm gonna have to add that to the list as well. Y'all give me some good ones. Oh, that's a show. Yeah, I thought it was a show, not a movie. Yeah, I thought it was a show. Um, I'm a little more reluctant to watch shows because for me, like they're so long and very often they're just full of fluff, and just a bunch of bullshit. But if they get to the point, and so many shows, like shows that I was actually invested in, they've really let me down. They really let me down. Like, I think the two shows that I can remember watching, or at least series, right? Not shows as in like I'm talking about continuity, where the last episode has something to do with the previous one, you know. Um, and I think I learned this at an early age, and that's why it just like totally turned me off of TV shows. So I'm still really big into um, heroes and superpowers and things like that and shit. I think they tell like good stories as long as there's a good story behind them. But two series that I was really invested in was Hey, take care, Summer. Shout out to Summer. Thank you for joining us tonight. Um, Two shows I was really into was Smallville and Heroes, the movie or the show Heroes, the series, right? And I feel like they just both of them on both occasions just ended so abruptly, and my I guess adolescent mind at the time just couldn't perceive how these two, in my mind, like amazing shows, because again, it was the only two shows that I was interested in really at the time, could just they just threw them away like that. I think that's when I realized again, as so many times I have before, another situation I can remember. I'll bring the lesson up, and then I'll bring the other example up, right? So, hey, easy with y'all's comments. I'm trying to go through all of them and everything. I'm trying to address everything. Forgive me if I missed something. Yeah, I used to be in the Smallville, um, but I was like, this is a cash grab. Y'all getting all this attention and interest and money and monetizing the whole product and merchandising and all of that stuff. See, I wasn't into Prison Break. I wasn't into Lost. And it was just hard for me to get into all of this. Like you have our attentions, you've captivated our hearts and our minds for you to just bullshit us. I just felt so disrespected. It's like it's like a bad relationship, right? It's like, well, damn, y'all took us up to here, and now we're gonna end on a bad note. So it's like, man, fuck it. Like, why even? If I want to waste my time, right? I'm gonna do it in 2 hours instead of fucking 2 years, right? So that's how I feel. Maybe it's just a bad experience, but yeah, honestly, that's just how I feel. So yeah, that's why TV series. Oh, and then like I guess relatively recently, um, I revisited, my interest in series and shows and everything like that. Every now and then, I'll get over myself or previous heartbreak and shit, and I'll be like, okay, I'll try this again, right? So Luke Cage, it had its moments. It was like a high note and then nah and then high again. The series Luke Cage, that was cool. That was cool, right? Uh, I don't know if it was worth like watching the whole. I just binged on it and I just saw the whole thing. I think in like probably like 2 days or some shit. You know, um, I don't think that was worth my time. Like low key, it was all right though. I'm not gonna like harp on it too much. What else? Stranger Things. I think saw the first season of Stranger Things. Wasn't for me. I saw the whole season. I was like, sure, it'll get better for me, at least my personal opinion perspective. It wasn't. It just wasn't for me. You know. So Yeah, Stranger Things didn't do it for me. I think Frank Castle. I was fucking with Frank, the Punisher. I was fucking with that one. I was fucking with that one. Breaking Bad goes hard. I haven't even seen all of the Breaking Bad yet. I've seen like, but from the, I mean, I know the story. I saw like a couple episodes. Breaking Bad goes hard. I fuck with Breaking Bad. Like even from I like things that are really relatable, and I'm a very practical person. I think I like things that relate to like anybody can relate to, and things that personally I relate to. So especially with stories, if it's like too far out there or like I don't know, sound like some bullshit or something, I'm not gonna get that invested into it. But like if I could see this like potentially happening, I like things that deal with philosophy, psychology. So like yeah, yeah, Breaking Bad. I fuck with Breaking Bad. I've heard good things about Better Call Saul as well. Um, but yeah, yeah. So I'm not gonna totally write off TV series, but I will say that I'm less likely to check them out because being a practical person, I don't like wasting my time, dog. Spawn is the shit. Uh, yeah, Michael J. White and everything. I heard there's supposed to be a new Spawn, right? Was supposed to be a new one? Um, I remember. I think it was YouTube. It was these YouTube battles. Where it was like a death match or whatever, and they would have like Spawn versus whoever else. I forget who they put Spawn up against, but yeah. Anyway, side note or whatever. Oh well, back to my point about realizing consumerism in the context of TV series and shows, right? I think the first time I ever learned this lesson, oh, rap battles. I fuck with rap battles heavy. Um, just can't take up too much of my time. You know what I'm saying? Time is so valuable. But oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So when I first realized consumerism was like an issue, or a problem, I took offense to it. Right? Was with Game Boy Color, and I had I had saved, I had an allowance back in the day. I got like what $5 a week or some shit like that, something like that. Uh, Maybe it's too much personal information. I don't care. I feel like I consider y'all family, and I like being transparent and shit. So but I used to wet the bed, right? Like to like a late age, like low key. I was like what 7, and pissing on the toilet seat. Maybe too much information or whatever. I don't care. I consider y'all family. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you. I'm glad you like my hoodie. I got this from a previous employer actually. It should look expensive, right? I was like, I got this about this time last year. That shit fresh. I fuck with it. I'm glad you like it. I like it a lot too. It's yeah, nice texture and everything. But yeah, yeah. So I was given an allowance for like not peeing in the bed and on the toilet seat, right? And it was like $5 a week or something like that. And I would save my money, and I was like, I'm gonna save my money. Oh, so I'm just thinking. I'm compiling all of the lessons that I learned just in this one situation. Shout out to my parents, right? Um, so uh, I just had a moment. My bad. But I'm compiling like all of the lessons that I learned in that one situation, and oh, I also learned about instant gratification and delayed gratification, right? So the world of tanks is calling. I don't know what that means, but yeah, knowledge is expensive. Just reading y'all's comments. That's when I learned about delayed gratification versus instant gratification. Selling my money on a weekly basis for an allowance, right? This $5 allowance that I would get, right? And I said, I could either buy, a trinket, some bullshit, whatever the fuck, you know, or I could save my money on the weekly basis and eventually have enough for a Game Boy Color, The Game Boy. Yeah, we 90 babies in this bitch. So I would get the Game Boy Color, right? I think it was like $60. Sounds about right. Hey, thanks again for joining us, Justin. Have a good night. Hope you're doing well. Stay up. Till next time. Justin been rocking with us for a minute. I know Justin for sure. What's up, Jorge George? Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Shout out to you. Um, but yeah, so I saved my money for this Game Boy Color. So I mean, you think about it, and especially for me, like somebody, I forget. I think I was about six probably. Yeah, six or seven. You know, to consider the yeah the delayed the so consider this, and I think this really plays like low key into a part of who I am today, and valuing delayed gratification so much more over instant gratification, right? So think about the mental fortitude a 6 year old would have to save their money. Think about what five dollars a week, and the Game Boy Color is $60, right? So that's 12 weeks. You do the math on that, and that's 3 months. That's basically 3 months, right? I would have to save my money for 3 months. That felt like for fucking ever. As a fucking 6 year old. Now I'm thinking about this. I'm like, man, that's easy. Piece of cake, right? Make $60 in like 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But that's beside the point. I know inflation crazy right now. Um, and all of that. Beside the point, right? What really matters is the lessons that I learned at an early age in requiring, to do that. And shout out to, maybe this is a lesson for any parents out there too, you know. Um, so yeah, like that took a lot out of me at that time. You could imagine 6 year old OMA, right? 3 months. I was like, it felt forever. It felt like a year. You know what I'm saying? Hide the money in a pillowcase, Um, man, felt forever, to save all that money for a Game Boy Color. And but the instant gratification, yes, that's a side lesson that I learned from all of this. But the real lesson was about consumerism, right? That was some bullshit. So I learned about consumerism at like 6 or 7, right? Because I save all this money and everything like that. I get the Game Boy Color finally, you know. Maybe a year or two later, what happened? Game Boy Advance comes out, right? I'm like, bro, come on now. I just spent 3 months of my little 6 year old life, 7 year old life, right, on this. And now y'all come out with some bull. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, we're not about to do this again. So shit, maybe even at a younger age, maybe I've always been this practical. And not that, you know, being practical, it does help with the ease of life, but I don't think it's necessity or necessarily applicable in every single situation, right? Because there are some things where I'm probably not practical, probably totally, just off my rocker, right? We're gonna talk about fairy tale endings and shit, like I am like I don't know. I, Everybody's risk reward ratio is different. Everybody's on a different spectrum. I feel like every situation is different, too. So I'm sure there are different situations where I have been less practical. Some things, if we getting deeper into that, we could talk about diminishing returns. When it's best to pull out of the situation, right? Um, Look up the law of diminishing returns if you're not familiar with that uh, concept or idea. But yeah, that's when I was like 6 or 7. That's when I decided I was like, yo, I'm not buying into this bullshit anymore. Y'all ain't about to trick me like that. I learned that at an early age, you know, and I considered this my money. right? Even though it was an allowance, and maybe that helped, reinforce my, I don't know, beliefs about money at the time as well. But that's when I realized I was like, yo, we're not about to do this again. You know, spent 3 months, 3, 4 months on this just for y'all to do me like that, and then it just became like old news, So I was like, nah, nah, let's do this. But consumerism, right? So it's just interesting. Mathematician, right? At a young age, So I don't know, I just consider myself practical. Uh, some other examples of me being practical that I think about also. Um, what? Oh, the my interest, Like, I'm not really that into sports, like really, you know. But I do like fighting. I do like MMA, martial arts, like wrestling and shit. And yeah, so like, I mean, I can admire somebody's brilliance and expertise in any field of endeavor, but if it doesn't really like apply, like I like lifting weights, but how much of my life is going to be drastically altered depending on whether or not, I can throw a ball, like, I don't know. Um I like realistic shit. There was a stark direct transition from me watching the WWE to the UFC. My dad came in the room one time. He saw me watching WWE. He was like, "Watch this shit, the UFC. This is some real shit. This is entertainment." I was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I like this real shit over here." I was like, "Oh, y'all are just slapping each other on the chest on this one. I like this real shit." Somebody get punched in the fucking face and knocked out. You I think about that. What else? I know there's another example. I'm trying to remember. Uh, practicality, practicality, right? Things that make sense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, right? What else? Oh yeah, music. Definitely music. I stopped. Now, don't get me wrong. There is potentially a lot of good mainstream music. I've learned this too. Don't just hate or knock something, just because it's not you or whatever. So like I was listening to a lot of mainstream music. Then I transitioned to underground music. You know, it was around the same time I stopped listening. Like went from the WWE to the UFC, right? Made that transition. I was like, oh, they're really speaking like some philosophy, some philosophical, deep, real. Some shit I could actually relate to. You know, I was like, damn. This underground shit. This like actually applies to like my life. Practical. So if we really trying to go in depth and detail, I eat like the same shit like on a weekly basis. You know, just it's working. Still feeding me. I'm still nourished. Now, if something's not working, like yeah, switch it up. But it's working. Why am I going to change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right now, some shit is broken, and we just call it fixed. Just because something's working for you doesn't mean it's not broken. Right. So there's this term here, and depending on the context of who you're around, it might be considered inappropriate. But again, I consider all of us family here. So there's this term. Uh, Again, be careful who you use this around, but it's called nigger rigging, right? It's when you rig some shit up. You just fix some shit, and it's some bullshit, really. Uh, but it's working, but it's not how it's supposed to work, right? Like say you have a broken doorknob or some shit, and like you just like tape it up. You just put tape on it. No, it's broken. Fix it. And sometimes people live their whole lives like that. Like your whole life. Yeah, MacGyver. Right, right. So and that goes for anything. Self awareness is key. You know, each of us as individuals know what we need better than anybody else, and nobody else is going to give a fuck about you more than yourself. So it's up to you to put your own um, self as a priority. That's your responsibility. Your happiness. Now it doesn't mean be totally selfish, but contribute to other people whenever and wherever you can. But yeah, that's my point. Gonna get off my soapbox here, read some more of y'all's comments. See y'all posting some good stuff in here. Um, yeah. You talking about banning firearms and condoms? Yeah, I was off topic. How did we get here? How did we get to this point? And Sharon, why did your family tease you for being linear? It just makes sense to me. Give us some context here. What's like an example? You know, because I don't know. I'd be looking at them kind of funny and strange. Like, I don't know. For anybody that's teasing me for being linear, that's weird. I don't get that. But anyways, yeah, Kirsten, I could kind of see you. You bringing stuff up. I'm trying to understand the correlation to what you're saying in the conversation here, right? You said history is repeating itself, bottle everything, get too in depth. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Maybe just in the context of who we're around and dealing with, right? What do you mean by that? Movement in the body is mathematics. That sounds interesting. That sounds provocative, profound. Amen. If sense was as common as its claim. Bandana on the door, duct tape. Nah, we not. Nah, we 25, 26 days away from 2023. We're not taping doors anymore. We're leaving that, in the previous uh, century. We're not doing that anymore. What's We got somebody on Twitter here, Wesley. Um, let's introduce Warlock Wesley to our conversation here on Twitter. Can you hear me? You there? What's up? What's up? Wesley,
Hey, what's up, man?
what's going on? How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Do you know where I'm from?
No, where you from?
I'm from South Africa.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah,
That's what's
I'm
up.
from where Elon, I'm from where Elon Musk was born.
Who?
Elon Musk, that's where he was
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I forget.
born.
I forget he's not actually, American. I don't know. Maybe his demeanor.
So,
But yeah, what's
yeah,
it?
but
Uh huh.
here's my question for you.
What's your
This is
question?
what I want to know. Some people say he's African American. I say he's Caucasian American. What do you think?
That's a good question. I mean, are we talking about nationality or ethnicity? Because I feel like in the context of that question, I think that's very clear. At least from appearances, right?
Well, let's put it this way. American is, but Caucasian is a race.
Right,
African is a race. It's not a nationality.
right.
So when people say that he is African American, that doesn't make sense because his race is Caucasian. That's where the confusion is.
My question is, And forgive me if I'm being like direct here, but again, we were just having this discussion about being practical, right? You kind of caught us on the wind of that conversation. But my question is, what difference does it make? Why does this matter? Why is this relevant to either of our lives as individuals, for one, but two, the larger scope and spectrum of things? Why does it really matter?
Why does race matter?
No, that's not my question. Why does it matter whether we consider Elon Musk African American or Caucasian American? Why does that matter?
It matters because now I hear people talking about how they want reparations, right? So if the people are talking about how they want reparations for African American, it's going to be a problem now if you're going to have Caucasian people who claim to be African, because what's going to happen is that they're going to get that reparations money or whatever, however reparations, whatever form reparations comes. They're going to benefit from something that they don't deserve. So it's important for us to be able to classify people correctly instead of misclassifying them.
I get that. That totally makes sense. That totally makes sense for sure. So,
because now what? Yeah. Because now what could happen is that you're going to have a lot of maybe white people, Caucasian people born in Africa who are going to relocate to the United States, and then they're going to get they don't deserve.
Now, this is an issue of semantics, right? We could both agree on that, So, what's interesting to me is why nobody else has this issue, outside of, you know, of Black Americans, African Americans. Nobody else has this issue, but whenever it comes to African Americans, they always want to throw like a monkey wrench at you, So like that's what I really find interesting. We don't have an issue classifying or qualifying other people and saying where other people are from, but when it comes to African, now it's an issue. So like for I guess clarification, there is no misunderstanding. You get me? Like there is no misunderstanding. They just want to convolute and throw some extra confusion on the shit. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
Right? Are we're on the same page so far?
Yeah, but before you continue, what do you identify as?
Me? I'm Black.
Oh, you identify? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. So we don't really have an issue identifying, other people and that sort of thing. Okay, so here I'm on a live call right now, not just with you on Twitter, but I'm also on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram as well. I have one of our members. Her name is Sharon. She's Native American. I didn't realize this was the issue. She says Native Americans do experience the same issue. So forgive me, I did not. I was unaware of that. That they had the same issue. Um,
it's becoming more popular these days. You actually find the people of Caucasian descent transforming themselves into people that they're not. For example, Rachel Dolezal, I'm not sure whether you know that woman. She converted from Caucasian to African American.
Yeah.
So that means that if the United States government ever decides to give American people reparations, she's going to benefit from something that she doesn't deserve.
Right.
So it's important for us to be able to classify people in the correct way.
So that reminds me. Another point too. How long are we going to put our faith and future into the powers that be and other people? It's like we just, what's the word I'm looking for? Relinquish responsibility, for doing better for ourselves. Like we can't. We've realized that, historically speaking, and just these are just the facts of life in general. Nobody can depend. This is another point that we were just talking about. You can't depend on somebody else to do better for you than you would do for yourself. So like instead of all of this discussion, I get the discussion about reparations, but at the same time, how one likely is it, are we really that willing to invest our energy, time, and efforts into what is thus far been just a discussion, or are we going to actually do something productively like about the issue? So like where I don't understand where the line is drawn between words and actions. You know.
Well, all I can say to that is Jewish people got like $90 billion in reparations for the Holocaust. So I think it's important for African people, whether they live in Africa or outside of Africa, to also start thinking in terms of how do we correct the injustices of the past,
Yeah.
so that we can go from being an underclass into being an upper class as a race of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, it's like you keep doing something over and over, expecting different results. They call it the definition of
What
insanity.
are we doing over and over? Can you give me an example of what we're doing over and over and getting the same results?
This this conversation specifically, this conversation. What are we doing? What has changed? It's
You
just
know
a
why this conversation?
huh?
It's because the people, we're not talking to the right people. We're talking
Okay,
amongst us.
and
We're not talking to the congressmen.
exactly
We're not talking to Biden and people like that. We're just talking amongst ourselves. So this conversation will never go anywhere.
right.
We have to talk to the top dogs,
And how do you do that?
because they are the ones that could change things.
Right, right. That's my point, though. Like exactly. So
Yeah,
mhm. Right. So knowing that, what's the next logical step? Like reverse engineering. Reverse engineering. You know,
yeah, I know reverse engineering. Yeah, I know that.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, me personally, and this isn't um, this isn't like a moral superiority kind of thing. It's not like a pissing contest and saying, "Oh, my way is better than somebody else's." That's not what this is. But it's just like me. My energy, effort, and attention isn't invested in reparation. So I don't know what the next logical step would be. Now, if I felt that, that is my my where I'm likely to find success, that would be the case. Now I don't, me personally, I don't know how to reverse engineer that. But I guess, and that is a good point for this discussion is, if we're referring back to Jews in regards to their reparations for the Holocaust, that would be a good starting place to look at. We could reverse engineer from their place and see where we could take that. I could see that. That makes for a logical, discussion and furthermore an outcome. But like I said, me personally, I'm not all of that invested in it. And
Why not?
you said why not? Because I believe that again, it's in my best interest to focus on what I can do. And I'm not. I'm gonna say a term here. This isn't the exact term that I'm looking for. Uh, I don't want to offend you or anybody else. Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But the term, for a lack of a better word, is handouts. I'm that's not what I'm looking at. I'm not looking to be dependent upon
Okay.
somebody else.
Before you continue,
Hmm.
I think you're looking at it the wrong way. It's redistribution. There's a big difference between redistribution and a handout. Okay?
Okay.
Redistribution is about creating equality. Because let me ask you something.
Hmm.
Would you say that the United States, in terms of race, is it an equal nation? Are African Americans as equal as Caucasian Americans from your perspective?
It's absolutely unequal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the whole point of reparations is not a handout; it's a redistribution. There has to be equality, not just in terms of not just in terms of social equality. We're talking economic equality.
I get
Because when
that.
I was looking at Forbes statistics,
Hmm.
and it said that in the United States there's about seven. I'm not accurate because I'm just summarizing because I don't remember the exact numbers. It said that there are about 735 billionaires in the United States, but only I think 8 of them are black, something like that. So from 735 are white, and then the rest is like and only are black. To me, that does not sound like it's something that's equal. That's not an equal society.
Right. We're on the
Even in
same
my
page
country,
there. Yeah,
it's
we're on the
just as
same page.
bad.
Uh huh. But my question to you is,
My country, even like
what's the alternative?
redistribution of the wealth.
Just equally, just regardless.
Well, the injustice of the past have to be corrected, right? When you look at slavery, when you look at segregation, that was all about world creation. Okay, what happened was the African Americans, they were used to create wealth for the white community. So that wealth has to be redistributed to African Americans, so that the United States will be a country that is equal, not just socially but also economically. Where instead of begging a job, you will have the power to create your own job. Instead of not having land, you will have land, and you will be able to be empowered socially, economically, even politically. Because it's not enough to just vote. It's not enough to go to church and pray every day. We need economics, and that's the whole point of reparations. It's economic redistribution to create equality between the two races economically, because that's what we need right now. We need economics in order for us to move as a race, or in order for us as a race to move forward. Without economics, we'll continue to be begging and begging. And we must not think of reparations in terms of a handout. It's redistribution of the wealth.
But you're begging. But you are begging. That's what the essence of this conversation is, though, right?
Yes.
Right. So my question is, and this is like probably the realest shit, of a question that I have, is how long are we going to beg our oppressors, for to get their knee off of our neck? How long is that going to happen? Like if we're asking the people in power to give us power. Now, why the fuck would they do that?
It's not going to happen when you put it that way.
Right. So
we're stuck in a cul-de-sac, basically.
You tell me. I'm just looking for a solution. And this is my solution. And I've working on myself in the highest capacity that I can,
That could help, but now let's think in terms of the collective. How many African American people have that mentality? Not that many, because most of them, just look at mass incarceration, for example. That's like a huge problem.
Question.
Not just in your country, in my country.
Question for you.
The black male is being incarcerated in a rate that is similar to how we were incarcerated in slavery. That's a huge problem.
I have a question for you. Question for you.
Shoot.
If you can't help yourself, who can you help?
Well, you have to start with yourself
before you
help anybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's where I'm at. And then you lead by example, right?
Of course.
So, if I don't have $1 million, how am I going to teach my people to have $1 million, right? Where I'm just going to ask them, I'm just going to keep asking the people with $1 million, hey, help me get $1 million and help me distribute it among the homies.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Let me be on topic a little bit. I want to know something. What are your thoughts about the whole Kanye? Like what he's been
shit.
What are your thoughts about that?
Man, which part of it specifically? Man.
Do you agree with what he's doing? Do you agree with him? Because it started out with the tweet about how, that DEFCON 3 and then it just went.
Oh yeah, from that point, yeah, there was already a disconnect from the tweet. I couldn't condone that, just from that point on, pretty much, everything else, like you said, was just downhill from there.
But when you think about it, he's practicing his right of freedom of speech.
Okay. And are there not repercussions? Freedom has repercussions. That's the thing people don't understand, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the context, regardless of you might not go to jail. You might be free not to go to jail for doing something, but there are social repercussions at the very least. There are potentially physical repercussions. Somebody might punch you or be aggressive with you for exercising your freedoms. So that's the quote unquote dark side of freedom that is reluctant to be acknowledged, especially in today's society and age, right? So yeah, he's free to exercise that freedom of speech, and Whoever gave him his brand sponsorships, they're free to yank that money from him unless they're contractually bound. But at the same time, so because what we're really having here are these side discussions to a larger that all contribute to a larger discussion, and the larger discussion in itself, that is power and the philosophies and psychologies of it in all varying capacities, right? So what we're really sidestepping, the big issue is power. Who has the power doesn't have to ask these questions. Who has the power isn't concerned about who they're going to step on and over and hurting and distributing wealth to. Who has the power doesn't really give a fuck, right? So they're just free. They're who has the power is the most free person of them all. Now, Kanye, I don't know if he actually thought, maybe he was under the illusion that he had more power than he did, but he is still bound as long as he's within our society by the rules of the society, right? You're only as free. I think this is a Martin Luther King quote. You're only as, well, no, maybe not exactly Martin Luther King, but yeah. No, I think this is Martin Luther King. Nobody is free until we all are. I got confused with his other quote. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. But nobody is free until we all are. And we have to realize that our freedom is interdependent upon one another, right? So yeah, you might be free, quote unquote, free to say something or do something and act on your own interests, but you're not free from this person next to you. If I live in a big, rich neighborhood, and right next door to me is there's poverty, right? I'm not
Which
free.
city?
Hmm?
What city do you
Oh,
live in?
I'm in LA, so that's a perfect example, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so
Where,
perfect.
where,
I'm
where,
literally like
which part
walking
of LA?
distance from Skid Row. Say again.
Which part of LA do you live in?
Like East LA. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like right next to Skid Row and shit, right? So yeah, this perfect example. I'm not really free. I have the illusion of freedom. There's the illusion of security, right? Just because I eat well every single day, and make money, whatever. I'm not free from somebody, say, worst case scenario, just for the sake of ease of discussion, robbing me, or stabbing or whatever, because my community isn't free, and I will be reminded of that, until it's no longer an issue, or until I have at least enough quote unquote freedom or space or wealth, to not have to acknowledge those issues. And that brings into another question of of power and freedom. It's because when you're so far removed from the discrepancies and the issues, we were having a conversation about this earlier tonight, about how we hide and suppress the actual issues, the actual problems, because nobody will actually wants to deal with the problem at the forefront. When you're so far removed from that, you don't have to deal with it as much. You start acting different, because you think you have more power than somebody else, until and you sweep stuff under the rug, right? Until the rug and the dirt and the bullshit that you swept under the rug, it becomes a mountain and you can't ignore it anymore. And it's like the monster in your closet. And eventually you throw enough stuff in the closet. Next time you open the closet, everything might fall out. Or it might get to a point where you don't even have to open it and it just falls out. Like we saw that, an example of that during in 2020 with the riots and everything like that. And that's just we're just hop, skip, and a jump away from that, right? That is Skid Row. You know, that's the next door.
Yeah.
That's the freedom, that we so called say we have, right? So
Well, let me tell you something. Where I live, we have like Skid Row, like almost everywhere. Like every 10 kilometers that you drive, especially in our cities, it's like Skid Row. It's like tent city everywhere. That's how much poverty we have. Okay.
yeah,
Well, all of this is happening. Politicians and white capitalists, they live in the luxurious life. So our society is very, very unequal in terms of race, and we have to. I don't know how we can actually solve this issue, but it's something that has to be solved, because as long as we keep treating racial inequality as the elephant in the room and we don't address it, it's going to cause more tension and people could riot and stuff like that. So what's happening in Skid Row, that in my country, every 10 kilometers that you drive on the freeway, you just see tents and tents. People are poor, people are starving, and
Right.
it's a huge problem.
Right. So yeah, that comes to the question, just like with anything though, like what are you going to do about it?
Well, for me personally, I don't really have much power. I'm not a politician, or I'm not a multi-millionaire businessman. I'm just an ordinary guy,
That's right now. That's right now. Let's talk about, like, I mean, we're not looking at right now. You can only do what you. I think this is another Martin Luther King quote. He said something to the effect of, if you can't run, you can walk. If you can't walk, you can crawl. But no matter what you do, you have to keep moving forward, right? So like that's all we can do. We can just accept the responsibility to do what we can do, right here and right now. Like, it starts with yourself, and then from there, your family, and your family to your town, your city, and the whole community, and so forth and so on. It's like the I haven't seen the Butterfly Effect yet. That's another movie I need to add to my list. Um, but yeah, you have to, like, it's like the domino effect, rather. You know, you pay it forward, and eventually you're going to affect somebody. I think Tupac said this one. He said he might not change the world, but he can ignite or spark an interest in the mind that would. So like, even the fact that we're having this conversation, like, I can tell, like, you want to do something, but have you accepted responsibility for what you actually can do right now?
I mean, what I can say is that I do try to help people wherever I can. Like, if I see a homeless person, I give them $1. But that's as far as I can go in terms of helping people, because I also don't have that many resources myself, and I'm still young. I'm not even 30 years old yet, so I'm still in the process of trying to figure out my finances. I'm still trying to become more financially independent. As soon as I hit that $1 million plus mark, then I think I'll be able to help people out the proper way.
So what's your plan to make $1 million plus?
My plan to make $1 million bucks. Well, it's through. I think we'll have to have a conversation about this next time when you do a space.
Sure.
Because for now, I have so many things, like, in terms of what I want to do, in terms of how to become filthy rich. But I was not actually prepared to have a discussion about this particular topic. But the next time, I think I'll be able to give you more details. For now, I'll say, let's postpone this conversation for maybe next week or something.
Yeah, I do these on Monday. The time varies, but if your notifications are on, we stay in touch and everything. But yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, and, like, to keep it all the way 100. I don't want to, like, put you on blast on the space or anything like that. And I can't tell you your life. I just know my life, like, and some of the comments that I'm getting right here, I relate to as well. Like, I had those excuses and insecurities, myself, but with every breath, every second of time that I have here, it's invested in expanding my, not just my personal wealth and well-being and health in all aspects of my life, but also others as well. So I invest and I do what I can for myself so that I can help more people, maybe, like, and I've only had $20, say, to give to, like, a homeless person out here before, but that's not, yes, I do want to have that impact, but that's not the only impact that I want to have. I want to help, millions and potentially, like, billions of people, and the only way I can do that is by increasing my potential and the leverage that I have to do so, and I dedicate, like, every waking moment that I have to that, so yeah, I just feel like it all starts with ourselves, because like we've already agreed, they're not giving anything to us, so why should we expect them to, especially through like begging and bribery until it comes to a point where it you they get robbed, you know, to that
Okay.
point, So
Now, here's my question. Here's my question.
mhm.
If we don't demand reparations from them, aren't they getting away? Aren't we allowing them to get away with the crime?
Yeah,
Because slavery is a
yeah,
segregation is a crime.
yeah.
Mass incarceration is a crime.
I agree with
But
you.
if you don't demand them pay,
What
that
are you
means that
doing to
people
demand it though?
not
It's like robbing. It's like, okay, say I have a gun and I rob you, right? And you don't have a gun. All you have is your fists. I got away with it effectively, right? Until you
Yes.
have a gun. And then we have a conversation, right? Yeah, but we don't have a
Yes.
gun right now. All we are right now is a dog with no teeth, and we're just barking up the wrong tree. So
Yeah,
like
because this
power
is
only respects power. That's the thing about power. Power doesn't. Power says fuck love. Everything goes out the window when we're talking about power, and this is what we're talking about right now. Power. These are power dynamics, and you spoke about how economics contributes to that, right? And so in the analogy, I used a gun as an analogy for power and economics. So in this case, we don't have those things. And yes, effectively, when you're bullied and you don't have a viable course of recourse, yes, the bully does get away with it. Now, I don't know how your faith is set up. I don't want to get too deep into faith in that context and everything. But I'm a personal believer that one, everything happens for a reason, and two, what goes around comes around, right? I believe in karma, right? So, with that being said, I don't know if you know see where I'm taking this uh, discourse here, but I for to end it on a positive note, I guess I'll say is I have faith, that every dog has its day, and it ain't over till it's over. You feel me? And I feel like all of us, not just you, me, but everybody on the stream has faith that um, they do what they do because they have hope in a potential for a brighter, better future, tomorrow. And if I feel like if anybody lost perspective, that faith, that hope, that perspective, I feel like they would cease to exist. So I believe that everybody who is living, everybody who's in existence thinks that tomorrow has potential to be a better day than today was. So yes, today I got robbed. Yes, today they got away with it. But I'm getting stronger and smarter every day so that this won't continue to happen, right?
Okay, I see what you mean. Now, here's another question that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that the United States is a racist, white supremacist country?
Yeah, with few reservations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. From a scale from 1 to 10, how big is the racism from 1 to 10?
Oh, I wouldn't know about that. I mean, what? Like, give me a
Just estimate.
what? Are we talking about countries? What are we talk? Like, give me a more concise question.
Like my question is the United States. Would you say it's a racist, white supremacist country from your perspective?
I mean, well, what is one and what is 10?
By that I mean, like, if you were to scale the racism from 1 to 10, would you say is it a 5 out of 10? Is it a 6 out of 10? Is it a 1 out of 10?
No, but like, what's the most racist that you can be, and what's the least racist that you could be? Are we talking about like, is it the worst country, like the worst? The
No, okay. I'm talking about like in the United States. Would you from 1 to 10? How would you put the racism? Is it like 5 out of 10, which is like 50%?
You just keep asking me the same question with different phrasing. I don't like what like say. Can you give me an example, maybe? Or
Okay, okay. 10 thing. Like, would
Okay.
you say that the United States is a racist country
Yeah.
from your perspective?
Yeah.
How bad is it?
It's bad. It's bad, bad. Like that's I don't know. That's a weird question to me. Like how dark is it outside? Like it's dark. It's like the sun's not up. Like it. That doesn't mean it doesn't have any redeeming qualities. That doesn't mean it's good. That it's. I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse too. It's bad, but it could be. It has been worse. Like so. I don't understand what's the real question here.
I mean, you've just answered the question, so yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay, yeah, it's racist. I mean, everywhere is
The reason
racist.
why I'm asking is because, like,
Everywhere
was
is
actually
racist.
reading a book by I was reading a book by this guy called
Mhm.
Ta-Nehisi Coates, and in the book he talks about
What is it called?
Ta-Nehisi Coates. That's the name of the guy. Ta-Nehisi.
Okay, okay. It's a
The
different
name of
language,
the
I'm
book.
assuming. The name of the
The
book?
name of the book is called "We Were Eight in Power: An American Tragedy."
8 as in the number. We were 8 in power.
Yeah, we were 8 years in power in
Okay.
American tragedy.
Hmm.
The name of the book. So in the book, it basically talks about how race relations in the United States. It's like 300 pages long, and throughout the whole book, it talks about race relations between the African Americans and the Caucasian people. And throughout the whole book, it talks about Jim Crow, it talks about slavery, it talks about how those things continue to, even in the 21st century, they continue to have an effect on race relations in the United States. So for me, what I wanted to know from you was, how bad is it? Because I was reading this book and I wanted to hear from someone like who actually lives in the United States. Like I wanted them to tell me how bad it was. That's why I asked you
Oh,
this question.
yeah. I just don't see the relevance of the 0 to 10 question. But yeah, it's racist. I mean, like I said, though, it's been worse. And yeah, it's so I mean, yeah, I just don't know. But yeah, like I've lived in Texas. I live in LA now, and that was another point that I had to make too. Racism comes in a lot of different varieties too, a lot of different strains. Racism might come in the form of being denied certain privileges or access to like certain communities. But racism, and that's one level of racism. But another level of racism is like lynching, or slavery, and that's not to condone one or the other. Um, but I don't know. I guess that's where I couldn't, gauge or quantify like the level of racism. You know what I mean? Like I feel like if you're being biased based on your preconceived notion on somebody based on the color of their skin, like that inherently is racism, regardless of whether or not it has an effect or an outcome. I consider that racism. Like, so if that's racism and that's the one that we're starting at, I would go as far to say, like, I'm not going to say everybody is racist, but I would say majority of human beings in existence have potential to be racist if that's the case, right? Now so far as it having like a systematic effect, I feel like that's a totally different question, and how prevalent that is, so I mean that's a serious issue too, and that is prevalent in the states too. But also another question you have to understand is I don't really have the context of any other previous experiences to compare the United States to. Really, I have a very limited, potentially biased. Well, everybody's going to be biased, but yeah, I have a biased perspective. Seeing that I've grown up here, I haven't lived anywhere else now outside of the country rather. I've lived in Texas, I've lived in New York, I've lived here in California, and there's a different type of racist in each of those states. All of the states are occupied in the same country, so they have different levels of racism just on that level. So when you ask, I just don't know how to answer that question. I'm not trying to be difficult or withhold any type of information, but I'm sure South Africa is racist. I mean, I've heard about apartheid. I don't know how racist they are now or what, if anything, has changed. Really,
It's still racist.
yeah, yeah. And then, but even in that statement, I would ask you to quantify or qualify that with like examples. You know, I could give you examples of where I've experienced racism, at least in California and Texas. I don't. I was probably too young to. I mean, gentrification has potential to be a form of racism, right? You know, so I guess I experienced that in New York as well. Hmm.
Gentrification and mental incarceration, those two things, those are like
Yeah.
the two big things at the moment in
Yeah.
terms of race related.
Yeah. I have. I don't know. I'm kind of torn about gentrification. I get yeah, mass incarceration. I'm on the same page, but uh, and maybe you could clear forgive my ignorance and clarify things for me in regards to like gentrification. Um, I don't know. I don't see the and also please keep in context of you know who I am as a person. I've moved a lot, like I said, in my life, so I don't really have anywhere that I would consider like home. Uh, but I don't see the issue with gentrification. Is that a controversial statement topic?
Well,
Yeah, what's the issue with that?
I don't know about it. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question because I can speak from from like how it from my country, like how it works. I don't know how it. I don't know about the specifics now how it works in the United States. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to. I also don't know how to actually address this topic because it differs from country to country. In my country, it's one way. In your country, it's probably a different type of way. So I don't know how I could actually try to break down this gentrification situation.
I mean, give. I think there are principles that are similar enough where I could understand. But basically, I guess how it works out here is they increase the prices. The people who have occupied those living quarters, they can no longer afford it. They tear whatever was down and they build it, you know, to where only rich people could live there, right? And since generally speaking, white people have more money than everybody else, it's more likely like white people moving to the places where they move the people with lesser income out, who are generally black people, right? Isn't that right? That's how it works.
That's it. That's it right there.
Yeah. So I don't.
So basically, the problem with that it goes back to the conversation that we were having earlier on about how wealth redistribution is important because if there was such a thing as wealth redistribution, some people call it reparations, that's fine, but I call it wealth redistribution. If we had that, it would have been very easy for people who have low incomes to be able to afford living in those cities once they gentrify.
Yeah.
But because wealth redistribution is not part of the agenda and
Right.
we are economically handicapped, we have no choice but to move out of those cities once they're gentrified. And that's the racial element, is that it's almost like we're being oppressed again. It's
Okay.
Jim Crow, it's slavery, it's apartheid, and now it's this.
Yeah.
It's almost
Okay.
like the oppression team, the oppression is the same, right?
Yeah.
How it affects us, but the modus operandi keeps changing, from slavery to Jim Crow, now it's gentrification, it's apartheid, it's colonization, it's all the same thing, it's all oppressive, but it's like a different, the oppression is coming in a different form. That's where the problem is. And all of it has to do with one thing, and that is we're economically handicapped. And
Right.
some way, somehow, it's more economically empowered. And we don't know how that's going to happen because when we look at how the politicians are behaving, it doesn't look like they have an economic empowerment agenda for us as a collective. It's almost like they're interested in empowering themselves and they want to ignore us.
Well, yeah, we've been on that though.
In the United States.
Yeah, we've been on that. Yeah, so I see the issue now. Yeah, I understand. Um, but yeah, I guess I just have a different method of approaching the problem, the issue. You know, like
How would you approach
again, like internally from myself. I have to start with myself before I can effectively handle a team, my community, or anything else. What difference does it make if I'm knocking on a rich, wealthy person's, white person's door and asking for change? Now, if I have, a whole neighborhood, a whole community, doing that, then that's a totally different situation, right? Like you have to position yourself where you're unignorable, right? And like, how are we going about that? We're just what, again, like you said, uh, having communications amongst ourselves. Like, yeah, that's where it starts. But what are we doing to affect change? Outside of the discussion itself. And like I said, like the conversation itself is important, but it has to man itself. It's into action. So like that's just who I am. I'm a person of action. They say in the Bible, faith without works is dead. That was another conversation we were having earlier. So like, what do we do about it? That's again, that's the question. So like,
that's true.
Yeah, I'm not that invested in, like you said, wealth distribution. Um, I guess in the form of asking the people with wealth to distribute their wealth to me. Like I'm about going and getting it instead of asking for it. I don't know, for again, lack of a better word, and I'm not trying to like stir up controversy, but I'm not, I'm going to use this term here again. This probably isn't the best term, but I'm a taker. Like if something's been taken from me, why am I going to ask for it back? Why wouldn't I just take like it's been taken from me? You know, uh, I don't know. Maybe that's a controversial opinion. I mean, maybe, and that goes into maybe people's, beliefs and faith. And I'm not here to solve that debate. I could just tell somebody what I'm going to do. I'm not here to tell other people what they should do, or what they can do. I could just like what we said. Just be you. Lead by example. So if you came to this space and had like a viable process, procedure, and actionable outcome, for how this should happen, how this would go down. First of all, I guarantee you wouldn't be on this space. You would be handling like bigger issues. Maybe you would be a constituent, or somebody, a constituent of your organization would have done, this already, but we will be further along the process, of this whole ordeal, and like this is kind of like a startup, as opposed to like a well-oiled machine. I'm trying to build like this is a startup. Everything's a startup, right? But I'm trying to build a machine that could compete on the level of these other machines. I'm not all that concerned about a startup or side projects and side hustles, and like I just like to stay focused, like the Navy SEALs. I don't know if you're familiar with the Navy SEALs, but there's this analogy I like to use. It's I think it's used in martial arts as well, or just with anything, right? So you have a pin. You could put a pin to a wall, right? Where it's a thumbtack or a nail or whatever, because it's that focused, and you apply enough pressure to it, it'll go through the wall. That's why when you punch in martial arts, they teach us to punch with our first two knuckles, right? Because it's that concentrated force, that could go through something and have that much more of an impact. Now if you just have a flat surface going to another flat surface, depending on how much pressure you apply to it, it's less likely to push through, So here in the States, they have these Navy SEALs, and they're like a special operative, special ops team, like Mission Impossible type shit, and special forces, and they send like teams out at one time to get one specific task done or handled. Like they're responsible for killing Osama bin Laden, for example, right? You don't send the entire army to do that, or even the whole country or like a nation, But if you have enough people that are focused and are all on the same path and course of direction, I think there's this saying, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a lot of people or something to that effect, And I feel like every example or situation is contextual. Um, but yeah, I think I would just apply it to that or that to this situation, you know. I don't know if I'm just
Yeah, I see
okay.
what you mean. I
Yeah.
get what you mean. And I know I'm familiar with the whole the navies. I've seen that in movies and stuff like that. So yeah, I hear what you mean. So
Yeah.
basically, now coming back to the whole topic, what I asked you earlier about, the whole white supremacy in the United States thing, and you said that yes, you've experienced it and stuff like that. So what are the solutions now? Like how do you overcome that as a person, as a black person?
Again, like
How do you?
for me, I can only answer for myself. This is me. I got to lead by example. I can't free the minds of thousands, hundreds, millions, billions of people until I am free myself. And I'm going to be very straightforward and honest. I don't have the answers right now. Right now. Now I am looking, I am searching, hopefully through conversations like this and so forth and so on. But I'll be the first to tell you. And I feel like that's very important in building trust and respect among your congregation and your audience is being transparent. That's like my people are talking about mission statements and principles and values right now. But transparency is one of mine. If I had the answers, I would tell you. Until then, all I can tell you is I'm doing the best I'm just keeping my head above water right now. And as long as I could do that, I can hope to provide for other people to do the same in their capacity. And eventually, we'll go all up together, but I can't help anybody until I help myself. And I can't help everybody, until I help the people that are around me, and so forth and so on. It's like, for lack of a better word, I guess it's like a disease, a disease of success, a disease of wealth, something contagious. That's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking to affect and infect people with wealth, health, well-being, and so forth and so on. But I have to catch myself first, and capacities high enough so that my cup overflow it, so to speak. You know.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go ask, for somebody to fill my cup. I just have to take it upon myself, you know, to do it until it's noticeable enough and unignorable, you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
I see what you mean.
yeah, that's my answer. If you come and again, like all things are subject to change, right? If I find somebody with a better answer than me, I'm gonna jack that, and learn from that, and then go and spread the gospel from what I'm the type of person to go and spread the wealth and the success. If I'm onto something and I feel like everybody around me, I want people to succeed. I want people to win. So if I learn something, I'm gonna put you on. You know, so but yeah, here I am, living a couple blocks away from Skid Row right now. So yeah, yeah.
Are you going to vote in 2024?
You said, am I going to move?
Vote in 2024. Are
Oh,
you voting in
vote.
2024?
I have no intention to at this point. At the moment, no.
Did you vote in the midterm elections?
No, sir.
You don't vote at all.
I believe I did back in 2012, but no, generally speaking, no.
At least we have something in common. I also don't vote.
I thought you were about to give me an earful, bro. Why is that?
No,
Tell me.
no, no, no.
Uh,
I,
what?
I could actually hear your voice. You were bit, like you're a bit. I could sense you were holding back a little bit to answer my question. But I wanted to tell you that I also don't vote. I actually never voted in my life.
Oh,
Because I
really?
feel the whole thing is rigged anyway.
Right, right, right. Okay, I didn't know you felt like that. Because that again, that just goes back. Huh?
This is what happens in politics. This is what people don't understand. That the politicians that we see, campaigning, what happens is that there are people that are financing them behind the scenes, and usually financed by white capital. Okay? So
Yeah.
whether it's a black politician or a white politician, they're all financed by white capital. And once they're in power, they have to do the bidding of the white capitalists who gave them the finances during their campaigns. So they don't actually help the people. What they're doing is that they are mascots of a bigger player, which is the white capitalists who are funding them. That's why nothing ever changes when you vote. It's because the white capitalists will put money inside the pockets of the politicians, specifically tell the politicians not to actually do anything for people, but to serve the interests of white capital.
Exactly.
That's what happens. Most people don't realize that. They think that, let me just vote and then things are going to change. No. It doesn't work that way. Because if voting was going to change anything, we would actually go outside and see the changes. But
right.
We don't see any changes at all. It's all staying the same.
And that goes back to the whole point, with like for me, reparations and everything like that, and being a dependent. I'm not going to depend on the same people that oppress me for my salvation. I'm not going to do that. I've done better in serving myself than they've done up to this point, and if it another conversation that we've been having tonight, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, like the system, I'm not talking about the system. The system is broken, because it's not working for everybody, right? But I'm talking about in regards to my life as an individual. I've sustained myself up to this point in my life, 28 years of age, by doing what I've done thus far. Now I'm looking forward to the future and a prospective brighter future and that sort of thing, and providing for myself in a higher capacity. But regardless of the case, we still have to assume responsibility, for ourselves. We can't be, I feel like, and you could quote me on this, a defining characteristic of what makes a man or a woman is how much responsibility they assume in their life, right? So if we're being dependent on somebody to save us, whether it's the people in power, the government, politics or whatever, then we are relinquishing our responsibility. Now how can we use our responsibility productively? That's the question. I just keep coming back to, what can we do? What are we doing, right now? And you came to the same conclusion that I did, like voting, at least for us, can't speak for everybody, but at least for us, voting is not the answer. That's not the conclusion that we came to. Like, it hasn't changed anything thus far. Maybe it will sometime, but here we are. So yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to change anything anytime.
Right.
It's designed. The
right.
Coaching thing is designed not to change anything.
It's like a fucking casino, right? It's rigged. It's rigged against you.
Basically, it's like a fucking casino. It's like buying a Mega Millions ticket and expecting something to come out from that, even though the odds are very small for you to win. So it's I don't know. It's an illusion.
Exactly.
Not doing anything.
The illusion. I'm not gonna go and buy a lottery ticket. I'm not gonna, all that money, time, and effort that I could have went spending on a lottery ticket or at the casino, I could use investing in myself, my community, my team, my family, friends, and affecting the people in my immediate environment, engaging with people like you, and the rest of my audience, like that, I feel yields, a better return on investment, better ROI, better conversion rate, a higher conversion rate, right? So
yeah, that's having a constructive conversation with someone.
Right.
It does help you, because it helps you think in terms of in different alternative ways of thinking.
Because we know each other now. Wesley, you, like, you show up on my life, like, now I know you as a person, and I can be invested in your interest. If you have something going on, I feel like is a benefit, to your community or mine, why wouldn't I be invested in it? Now if we're talking about voting, these politicians, people in power, they don't give a fuck about us. Like they don't know our names. Like they don't care. No, we know each other on the personal basis now. So and that goes for anything, right? So
Of course. So yeah, whenever you decide to come to, maybe you want to come abroad and you want to visit the African continent, then
yeah,
you could hook up with me, and then I'll be like your tour guide.
for sure, bro. I'd love to. I would love to, man. My dad, my parents, I think before I was, yeah, it had to be before I was born. They went to Africa. I don't know if they went to South Africa, but I haven't been myself. But I would love to go. I would love to go. So just the fact that I know somebody now, I know you, you know, man, that would be dope. That'd be dope as hell, bro. Yeah.
Actually, quite cheap. I mean, if you have like $20,000 or $15,000, you could actually stay here for like 6 months. Because to us, that's like a whole lot of money.
I believe it. Shit, to me right now, that's a whole lot of money. No, it's definitely on my list. It's on my list for sure. For sure,
You
for
could stay
sure.
here for like 6 months, and you could live in a nice. You could get like for like $200, you could live in a nice fancy apartment a month. You could pay like $200 a month and live in a nice apartment, maybe like a
Man,
one-bedroom apartment
nah, that'd be cool.
in the city. So it's quite cheap here when you like if you convert your currency from dollars to our currency. Your currency is way more powerful than our currency. So if you were to come here, you'd live like a king.
Man, I'd love to one day, and it's on my list. You know, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I just make my money out here, though. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but when that's no longer the case, definitely, I definitely pay you a visit, and that goes both ways, bro. If you ever out here in LA, let me know, or even in Texas, show you around and all that good stuff, So for sure,
Yeah, I've actually wanted to come to the like to visit like the Hollywood sign. Every time I watch TV, I always see the Hollywood
right?
sign, and then I see people they usually like can't walk up. There's like an alleyway where people walk. I've always wanted to walk there and take a photo on that Hollywood sign.
The Hollywood sign, the stars. You seen the stars, the
I've
Hollywood Walk
actually
of
played
Fame?
Grand Theft Auto 5, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
actually based on the city.
That's what everybody says when they get out here. That's funny. It's funny. Like
Yeah,
everybody
so,
says the
so,
same
so
thing.
it's almost like I know the city
Right,
because I play Grand Theft Auto 5. So if I
right.
actually go to this, if I were to go to the city tomorrow, I don't think I'd be lost because I'll just think of Grand Theft Auto 5 and then I'll look at the geography and then I'll be able to know where to go because I've played that game so many times and
Right.
it's based on LA and I know the whole design of the city. It's almost like I've been there even though I've never been there thanks to the game.
That's funny. Yeah, I didn't know it was actually that. I mean, it might be that realistic, that accurate, but I had never considered that before. That's interesting. That's funny.
You never played Grand Theft Auto 5?
I haven't played it myself. I just hear everybody that comes out here has played it. And they know where to go and everything. So
It's a video game like it's based on the city like it's
I'm
based on
familiar with
LA.
it. I played like earlier versions. I don't think I played five. I
I
always
know.
thought they were like strictly fictional. I thought they had like nothing to do with. I just thought like maybe the geography was similar, but yeah, I didn't know they had like streets or like they actually modeled it after LA. So that's funny to me.
What they did was they modeled it after LA, but they changed the names of the streets
Oh, okay,
to
okay.
something else. So the street names are different,
Mhm.
but the architect, the design of the city is the same.
Yeah, yeah, that's what's up.
So, but the whole video, it's an old video game. It came out in 2013. I played it so many times.
Oh, I
I'm
thought it
still
was
playing it.
newer. I thought it was recent. Because everybody keeps referring to that one. Isn't there supposed to be like a newer one that's it's been postponed, right?
2025, I think it might come out.
Oh
2024,
man.
2025.
So the fifth one was the last one that's come out. Nothing's come out since
So
then.
far, yeah. The first one
Wow,
is like the one that's still in the market right now. It's still selling like big time
really?
because it's still really rich.
Mm, that's crazy. That's that longevity. When you
Yep.
have something going for that long, people kill.
Yeah, since 2013, imagine that. Almost,
Yeah,
it's 9 years now. The one
yeah.
game has been in power for 9 years.
and it's about to be 10, and by the time the next one comes out of you, like 13 or something, 12 or 13.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
I, you don't play video games.
Not really, just yeah. Like I said, we were having this conversation about practicality. I was literally talking to my audience here uh, about how when I was like 6 or 7, I saved up my allowance money to buy a Game Boy Color, right? And then maybe like within a year or two after getting the Game Boy Color, they came out with the Game Boy Advance, and I was like, oh, that turned me off of consumerism. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not about to play this game. Even as a 6 or 7 year old, I could see the games that they are already playing. you know? So I was not interested in playing anymore. So again, I just decided to take that time and energy and invest it inwardly to myself. And now I play my own games. I was that kid in interesting psychology, about the self awareness and observation that you make about yourself. But I was that kid that they, would- like I might win at a board game, but if I wasn't winning, I would start changing the rules on mid game in the board game. So I find that interesting. I don't like the rules being changed on me. I like making my own. And if the game is not winnable, I'm gonna find a way to win it. In whatever capacity I can. I'm gonna like tilt the pinball machine. And until it works for me, I'm gonna make it work. So no, not that into video games. you know, got to be into some shit that I can control myself. You know. So,
I also don't play that much. I just play that one day. I enjoy. I play like a certain type of games, but I don't. It's not something that I do most of the time.
yeah.
I play video games. So I read most of the time.
Right.
I most like that's like my video game is reading books and
I love
knowledge
audiobooks.
because information is power and
Right.
so is knowledge.
The application of it, though, you got to apply it. You know.
I mean, absolutely, but it serves as the foundation.
Yeah.
Because you have to know something before you actually
Execute.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. For sure.
So,
Yeah. I'm on audiobooks, podcasts, all of that. For sure. For sure, man. But yeah, Wesley, it's been a pleasure.
okay.
Tap out with
Are you
my,
on YouTube?
huh?
Are you on YouTube?
Yeah, we're on YouTube. Yeah, I got a link in my link tree on my bio and everything. It has all of our links. We host these sessions, these live sessions. We're actually on YouTube live right now. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, here on Twitter, and yeah, we host these sessions on Mondays. It's usually in the afternoon. What time is it over there right now? It's probably like morning.
It's 8 a.m.
Oh, okay, man, it's early over
And
there.
what time are you on your side?
It's about to be 10 p.m.
It's
Yeah,
8. I just woke up in the morning and then I went on Twitter to see what was happening and then I saw you and I was
man,
like, okay, let me hear what this guy is he wants to say and then I just joined the space.
that's
So I
wild.
just woke up. I was not prepared for this.
Right. Hey, no, that's a blessing though. Like I said, I believe everything happens for a reason. So I'm glad you're able to join and contribute to our conversation, bro. So hopefully to see you again soon. Usually we are quite a few hours earlier, but we always, leave the live recordings up and everything, you know. But yeah, like my DMs are open, and we could, you know, even if you're not able to make it live, we can still address your questions, retroactively and
Okay.
that sort of thing.
Hopefully next time we could get like more people and then we could have like a discussion type
Yeah.
of type.
Eventually, like it's a snowball effect, like we do have people on Facebook right now, the homies Sharon and Kirsten still hanging out. If you get into our private community, on, or not even our private community on Facebook. You just, yeah, join our Facebook and turn your live notifications on. We'll be on there, and YouTube as well, you know. But yeah, like to actually have a conversation, yeah, it's pretty much, yeah, what, Twitter and Instagram, you know. To actually like talk in real time. I'm just reading people's comments here on the other platforms right now and everything. But yeah, yeah, man, no, it's a
What have
pleasure.
you saying?
They're having their side conversations right now. Every now and then they get into their side conversations. Um, I think at the beginning, I don't know, people were agreeing and disagreeing with what we had to say. I don't know how they started talking. They started talking about martial arts because of the analogy that I was giving about punching through a wall with a focus group of people. I'm kind of like glancing over it. I'm skimming through things that they're saying. They started talking about the time it is where they're at. When I brought up the time, we started talking about what time it is over there. So we have somebody in Pennsylvania. I guess it's almost 1 in the morning over there. It looks like. Um, I forget where Sharon is at. I think Sharon is in North Dakota. She says it's 10. Well, yeah, almost 11 where she's at, and it's almost 10 here. So yeah, but yeah, that's the sum of everything right now. It won't let me scroll all the way back in their comments because it's a lot of comments. They really had a lot to say with our discussion earlier. I wanted to address some of their comments, but maybe we'll say that for next time. I'm not able to scroll that far back right now, but yeah, interesting, good stuff, good stuff. We don't usually get into racial discussions here, um, so that was definitely refreshing. And I don't get to have these conversations with everybody, so everybody's unique perspective contributes something different to the conversation as a whole, so
Yeah, most people are scared to talk about race and stuff
right,
like that.
right. And like I don't, me going into it, like I said, like I don't know, I'm not gonna call myself like rusty on talking about things like that, but like I don't get to have these conversations with just any and everybody, but if I am to say that, this is an open forum and we could talk about anything, we should be able to talk about anything. And if that is our end goal, at least again, I can only speak for myself. Um, but I would imagine it would be the same for the people that are here as well, yourself included. If our end goal is to pursue knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and to better ourselves and the rest of humanity, you know, why would we, project insecurities or be unwilling to talk about certain topics or discussions? If I call myself a enlightened person or a free thinker, and that's who I want to appeal to, that's my core demographic. We shouldn't be afraid to have certain conversations. That goes into a conversation we were having earlier tonight. We were talking about people living in delusions and and being scared of dealing with reality and wishful thinking, and people that cross their fingers and say their affirmations but don't really do anything. They don't have any effect in their life. They're just living in their own delusion, just like sweeping a whole bunch of shit under the rug or stuffing something in the closet and not dealing with something. So how can I be a person, again going back to transparency, but how can I be a person that advocates for that type of lifestyle and addressing, and confronting the boogeyman and the problems that we have, if I'm unwilling to do that myself as the leader of my organization, or at least the face or the figurehead of it, so yeah, yeah. So and frankly, to keep it 100, I could give a fuck who we offend. Like these conversations need to be had. If we offended somebody, let's talk about it. Let's talk about why you're offended. Let's talk about how I was potentially offensive. You know, like I look at us as family. You know, we should be having a full roundabout conversation. If we're gonna pull the rug, if we're gonna look under my hood of my car and look at all the mechanics of my psychology and how everything is working, you know, we should be able to do that with everybody on these calls. You know, so our problems, again, going back to my perception of freedom, our freedom is interdependent and interwoven into each of our ourselves. You know, so any problem that you have, Wesley, is my problem. Any problem that I have, you know, is everybody's problem. All of our problems are all of our problems. You know, everybody's problems. Nobody lives on an island. You know, unless you're a monk, not a monk, but a hermit. You know, and you have no contact with society. You know, to the point that we're even communicating, even the fact that we're communicating with ourselves, you know, amongst each other, you know, that's indicative that we have problems, you know, that do need to be remedied, you know, and solved. You know, we're not, none of us are free until we're all free, you know, and I believe that. So, yeah, that's what I stand by. That's what I stand by, and I live by, you know. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. Sharon said she's humbled in the fact that nobody really got upset. I don't know. Some of y'all look kind of upset. I didn't get a chance to address all of the comments. Uh, I did say something that was potentially offensive that I do. I don't. Um, I guess I take back. I take back. You know, saying that we were the only ones that have our issues. You know, and thankfully, Sharon, we have Sharon here on the call. You know, to tell us that no, Native Americans have the same issue. You know, so I retract that.
That was quite interesting. It
Right.
would be nice if she was in this conversation too, because I'd love to hear things from her perspective.
Right.
Because I'm coming from an African perspective.
Right.
You coming from an African American perspective, and then she was going to be like the third puzzle,
Right.
the Native American perspective, and then all three of us are going to have like this conversation where we talk about our issues and how race and the history of what our people have went through, how that has an effect on us in the 21st century.
Right.
Interesting conversation.
Exactly. So we need to understand.
So
Mhm.
because I have questions that I'd love to ask her.
Right.
I've never actually had a conversation with a Native American before. I've talked to African Americans before, but I've never had a conversation with a Native American person. I've actually never even seen one face to face.
Yeah. Right. You know, so and again, like I said, these are discussions that we don't usually have, you know, on these calls. You know, so I'm definitely interested. And anytime that Sharon brings up something about, you know, Native American heritage, I'm all ears. You know, but I don't even know the questions to ask. You know, so every time she tells me something, I'm very intrigued and always interested. You know, but so anything further than that, like I wouldn't even know what to ask. You know, so I'm sure you would have a different perspective and much more qualified questions, you know, than I would, you know. But yeah, all of this is public record. This is on my Facebook page. So after, you know, it should be up now, you know, live here on my Facebook feed and everything. And Sharon here is very engaged with us. Uh, she's on like all of our live calls. So shout out to Sharon. Shout out to Kirsten. You know, uh, yeah, Wesley, and yeah, everybody else, Crystal, Aaron. You know, the usual suspects. And yeah, yeah. So no, it's been great. It's been great for sure, for sure, for sure. But yeah, we're gonna call it a night here. Wrap things up. Maybe create something, make something here, and yeah. Other than that, appreciate everybody for for tuning in. And yeah, until next time, next week. Um, Fridays, we host our live Freestyle Friday session. Next week, we'll be back at it doing the same thing. Other than that, thanks again so much for joining. Appreciate you all. Until next time, I am OMA, one who may ascend. Over and out. Peace, y'all. Stay up. We're going all the way up. Eyes to the sky.